PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hi guys, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the good people that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be me and him, the me being Kim Brown.
And him being TC Kirkham. How y'all doing?
Hi.
Trying to get things back on track. We're a day late this week, but we'll be back on Thursday. Just this week has been crazy because we've had real transportation issues with the T this week, so didn't get in and everything. So we hope you like what you're listening to, and we do these list shows every week, more or less. And if you've got a list you'd like to try and get us to do, please send it in at front row at PNRNetworks.com, and we will, if we use it, you will win a prize. You will get full credit on the site and on the show. And we'd really like to hear from you.
We would.
Even if you just want to comment on what we're doing.
Definitely.
Because it's been so long since we heard from anybody. I know you're out there. I can see it in the numbers, but I wish you'd write to us. We'd love to hear from you. This was your idea.
Yes. This week, our list, we each have a list.
It's the first time I've had 2 pages, so this is interesting.
The top 10 scenes that hit you right in the feels.
Now, I want to clarify, I remember doing something similar to this at some point, either on this show or on Subject Cinema. So you're going to hear stuff that you've heard before, but you'll hear stuff that you haven't heard before, too.
Yeah.
Just
or you
get that
haven't heard
out
for
there.
A long time, either way. These are scenes, and this is all media. This is, it's movies, TV, books, whatever you want. These are moments that hit you almost like a physical blow. Anything from a punch in the chest to a hearty slap on the back. Because hitting somebody in the feels doesn't always have to be you bawling into your popcorn. It could be something where you're just so full of relief or joy or pride or whatever. It just really, knocks you for a loop. So that's, of course, most of my stuff is of the weepy type. Because,
me too. I've kind of divided it between
estrogen
and,
boobs. I'm a
weepy
chick.
and funny.
Yeah. So since this list was my idea, you go first.
Okay, my number 10 is a tie from the
Okay.
same television show. It's 2 particular episodes.
All right.
And this is actually starting with funny stuff. I have this button. I have several buttons. She knows how to push them.
I do.
And sometimes if something strikes me just right, I will start laughing and I can't stop. It takes me 10 minutes to recover because I've found something. I mean, it literally just takes my breath away. It's hard for me to catch a breath. I'm laughing so hard. That is what happened with these 2 episodes of the 1980s classic cult cartoon series, Danger Mouse. We talked a little bit about Danger Mouse last week on here or on Subject Cinema, I forget which. 2 particular episodes. The show itself was just one of the best, but two particular episodes lay me out flat from beginning to end. I will just sit there and giggle the entire cartoon. One of them is Play It Again, Wolfgang. This particular episode, somebody, villain Wolfgang, has stolen all the music in the world. Mm-hmm. And Danger Mouse and Penfold have to go get it.
Yeah, because all the music in the world includes the soundtrack to their show.
I can explain my own entry. So they have to have, background music, so they get it from the little cassette recorder that Penfold is carrying with him. And some of it is just ridiculous. And of course, they do it so every time you hear the music, you can hear him click the cassette on and click it off again. Some of the music is wildly inappropriate for what they're doing. And it's just, it turns out that this is the world's worst composer, and he wants to force the world to listen to his music. My music! Great music! And then Penfold starts singing Show Me the Way to Go Home, and the worst possible off-key rendition, which he thinks is good. Of course, if you've heard Terry Scott's vocal work, he's actually a great singer, and it's hard to...
And the thing is, it's very difficult for a good singer to sing badly.
Oh my God.
That is not easy.
Every time I see this, I'm freaking on the floor. I'm just laughing myself sick. The second one, and one of Kim's favorites too, is Once Upon a Time Slip. This is where the narrator's voice is suddenly transformed into having the ability of changing the scenery around them. Mm-hmm. So he sends them to Sherwood Forest to be Robin Hood and Little John.
Little John, yeah. Very Little John.
Nah. But he is verily Little John.
No, he's not verily. He's a ghost name.
It's full of bad Robin Hood puns. Some of the best hysterically funny narration done completely deadpan by David Jason, who also voices Danger Mouse. And it's just, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'll laugh myself sick from beginning to end. These two totally hit me in the giggle puss. Mm-hmm. Danger Mouse is Once Upon a Time Slip, and Play It Again, Wolfgang, my number 10 feels things.
Okay. My number 10, I've brought this up over and over again, but it's one of those moments that is so beautiful and so poignant. And, everybody has that one thing that where you're like, why does this make me cry? It's just one of those moments that you're like, you've seen this over and over again, and then you hit a certain age, and all of a sudden it has a much deeper meaning for you. The penny finally drops, I guess, and you actually get it. Mm-hmm. My number 10 is from the classic The Wizard of Oz, which I was, as I viewed it, subjected to when I was very young.
Now we watch it willingly sometimes. Yes.
My mother would, every Easter it was on, and my mother would be like, oh, The Wizard of Oz
Well, it wasn't on Easter. It was usually on the same week as Easter.
Yeah, it was the Easter week.
It was usually like Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah.
And my mother would be like, oh, The Wizard of Oz is on, and I'd be like, oh, great. And this was...
Did you ever think it occur to you that maybe it was one of her favorite movies growing up?
I know. But... It probably was, but she also felt like it was a good children's movie and stuff like that. And at that time...
a pretty damn scary movie for children.
Well,
Yeah, anyway.
At the time, I was at a point in my life where I was like, I'm too grown up for this stuff. This is baby stuff, and so on and so forth. As I got older, I finally realized that life is meant to be lived, and, started watching it with new eyes and being like, wow, this is really great, and damn, that dress is poofy. Sorry, Billy Burke. I never figured out how she moved in Glinda's dress.
You had the ability to go home all along.
Yeah, I'm going to smack that crown off her head. The moment that hits me really, really, really hard, though, is at the end of the film when Dorothy is saying goodbye to her friends because she's supposed to be going back to Oz, so from Oz to Kansas. Why, I have no idea. With the professor in a balloon. The professor who was masquerading as the wizard. So she's saying goodbye to each of her friends that she's met. The Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. she says goodbye. Now, at this point, they've all got the things they were looking for. Brain, heart, courage, all that stuff. So she's saying goodbye to the Tin Man, and he says, "Now I know I've got a heart, 'cause it's breaking." I was in my 20s when I saw that scene, and this happened for the first time, and I just burst out sobbing. I mean, it hit me like a slap. It was just this moment where you realize that you actually finally got something that you wanted, and now that you have that ability to feel, it hurts so much to say goodbye to someone that you love. Mm-hmm. And that just, it's like a knife in your heart. I mean, we've been out in public seeing this film at, festivals.
She had an episode at the Coolidge Corner.
Oh, shut up. It wasn't an episode. I just sat there and cried. It wasn't,
You were sniffly crying, though. People could audibly hear you.
I don't care.
I know that, but you were scaring the children around you.
Oh, shut up. I was not. Knock that off.
Well, it wasn't March of the Penguins.
No, it wasn't. So that is my number 10, The Wizard of Oz, The Tin Man's Goodbye.
That's a sweet one. I know that's always on your list.
Yeah.
My number 9 is one of these things that I really can't explain without people having seen the film. So I'm going to do my best. It actually ranks as one of my top 10 films of all time, and I really enjoy it. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know if it's still streaming on Netflix or one of those, but you should try and find it. The movie is 2007's Wristcutters, A Love Story. The whole story of this movie is set in suicide land. These are people who have all killed themselves for one reason or another, except the very beginning of the movie where we see Zia kill himself. Zia is the main character, played by Patrick Fugit. Eventually, he meets up with people in Suicide Land and becomes friends with Eugene, and then later they pick up McCall as they're driving along trying to find his girlfriend who has found out has killed herself too.
Yeah, I would like to say though, McCall insists she didn't kill herself.
Yeah, she didn't kill herself. She's not. She's
accidental.
Looking for the people in charge.
Yeah, that she OD'd accidentally.
Right. So anyway, they go through all this movie. Zia finds his girlfriend, who is once again with the guy calling himself the Messiah, who's this cult leader, and this is why, he killed himself. Zia killed himself in the first place because he found out that Desiree was cheating on him. At the end, though, he and McCall have started to connect, and everything happens so fast that you can't really. It's a movie that's incredibly hard to describe. You've got to see it to understand. Mm-hmm. At the end of the movie, McCall manages to track down people in charge. Didn't realize that Neller, the man who ran the camp they were staying at, was actually undercover people in charge. Mm-hmm. And when there's a raid, when the Messiah tries to kill himself again, thinking he's going to be reborn into this big, powerful being, everything goes crazy. And McCall disappears because she's managed to talk to the people in charge and they've agreed with her assessment. And they're sending her back. Mm-hmm. So Zia's stuck by himself, although Neller kind of fixes things. I don't want to give away the ending. Mm-hmm. But the ending is silent except for the beeping of hospital rooms and the talk of parents out in the hall. And McCall and Zia both waking up in the same hospital room. Now, no longer dead, they're back to life. The end of this, just the way it's played so subtly, I walked out of that theater grinning from ear to ear with tears flowing out my face, and I stayed that way for at least an hour or two afterward. I loved the ending of this. It just lights up my heart, gives you hope for the future, and isn't the only thing on my list that involves suicide. My number 9 is Wristcutters, A Love Story. The ending, you have to see it to understand it.
Okay. Number 9 on my list is... It's a moment where you cry. You definitely cry. But as you're crying, you have a huge smile on your face, and you're probably also fighting back the urge to stand up and applaud, cheer, do the whole Arsenio Hall dog pound thing, but you don't do that in a movie theater because you'll get kicked out.
Unless it's a movie where you're supposed to do that, like Rocky Horror or The Room or Birdemic, where everybody's doing crazy things. Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
Yep.
But you wouldn't do it here. My number 9 is from The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. The trilogy will be on the list again, to the surprise of absolutely nobody.
I left it off because I've done it so much, so.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
It's almost at the end of the film. It's before the part where a lot of people who have nothing better to do but bitch complain that there was so much, there was too many endings and all this stuff like that. To which my response has always been, F you, if they didn't show us what happened to the characters, you'd bitch about that, so shut up. It's after the war is over, good has triumphed over evil, and the Ranger Strider has become Aragorn, the king of the free men of Middle-earth. And is also married to a hot elven princess. So his life is going pretty damn cool right now. And, we see him in his kingly robes and the crown and the whole thing, and he, looks amazing. And we see all of the people standing around watching him and Arwen, and they're, it's so beautiful and stuff like that. And then the camera pans over and we see the 4 hobbits, who look kind of out of place in all of the finery that all of the humans have on. And when you think about the fact that these 4 little guys who are like so incredibly brave and have gone through hell, and they look so modest and unassuming and stuff like that, and when they see Aragorn, their first reaction is to pay him reverence because he's a king, and start to, they bow to him, and he looks at them. And I loved the way Viggo Mortensen read this line, because there's so much genuine tenderness and warmth. Mm-hmm. It's not read in a kingly way. It's read in the way of a man talking to his friends who he knows have gone through so much sacrifice and pain, when he looks at the hobbits and says, "My friends, you bow to no one." And Aragorn and Arwen and all of these other humans kneel down in homage to the hobbits, who all look like,
what the hell's going on?
This is kind of uncomfortable, but it's kind of awesome at the same time. That kind of a look. And it's just one of these scenes where, my cheeks are hurting because I'm smiling so wide and I have tears just pouring down my face because it's so beautiful and so moving, and it shows so much love. And it shows that love is the thing that beats evil every time. That love is the strongest, most powerful weapon anywhere. Or at least it should be.
Yeah. So
my number 9, the homage paying scene from The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yeah, that always gets to me,
I know,
too. I can't. I took it off my list because I've talked about it so much. If you heard that was a car horn going off outside. I got a car alarm going off outside. My number 8 is another movie that's really hard to explain if you haven't seen it. It was my 2010 Best Picture winner, and I got to explain it a little bit about this. The movie it's kind of a funny story, and at the time this movie came out, I was having some serious issues. Despite the fact that we have been together all this time, we have not had a perfect relationship, and we were having a few difficulties at that time, and I was having all kinds of problems with work. I was having all kinds of problems with my mother. And I was out of it a lot of the time for about a year. I had some real depression issues. And this movie, which focuses on a 16-year-old who commits himself to a mental hospital because he can't stop thinking about suicide, and starring the unbelievably talented Keir Gilchrist, who is now out of college and making his way back into the business again in some big roles.
Yay.
we follow his character, Craig, as he spends 5 days in this facility trying to figure out how to deal with life, his parents, his friends, his love interests, everything, all the things that are causing him all kinds of pressure. Throughout the movie, we see him talking to the doctors, talking to his friend, I've forgotten his name, the one that played by Zach Galifianakis. Let me see, it's here somewhere. I think. Oh, maybe not. He's talking about who he thought was a doctor when he first arrived at the hospital.
Because he let him think he was a doctor.
And there's another girl in named Noelle that he's fallen for. He has a roommate that won't get out of bed named Mutada. His best friend, and he has a crush on his best friend's girlfriend too. This movie is, a lot of critics thought it was too understated. I thought it was just right.
I thought it was perfect.
And at the end, Craig's reached the 5-day point. He's getting ready to leave. He's told his dad, I don't want to follow in your footsteps. I want to be an artist. One of the things that was bothering him. And his father has accepted that. He said goodbye to this. Well, he didn't say goodbye because he snuck out before he got up. The Zach Galifianakis character arranges to meet Noelle afterward. And as he's leaving, he tells his story this way. Okay, I know you're thinking, what is this? Kid spends a few days in the hospital and all his problems are cured? But I'm not. I know I'm not. I can tell that this is just the beginning. I still need to face my homework, my friends, my school, my dad. But the difference between today and last Saturday is that for the first time in a while, I can look forward to the things I want to do in my life. Bike, eat, drink, talk, ride the subway, read maps, make art, finish the Gates application, tell my dad not to stress about it, hug my mom, kiss my little sister, kiss my dad, make out with Noelle, make out with her more, take her on a picnic, see a movie with Aaron, heck, see a movie with Nia, have a party, tell people my story, volunteer at 3 North, help people like Bobby, that's the Zach character, like Mutada, like me. Draw more, draw a person, draw a naked person, draw Noelle naked. Run, travel, swim, skip. Yeah, I know it's lame, but whatever. Skip anyway. Breathe. Live. Close quote. The last 3, I was sitting there bawling. And I realized something. It made me realize that he was exactly right. I had so many things going on that you had to learn how to deal, and I did. And I've been a lot better since this movie came along. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
I had a real rough patch there. And it's thanks to the wonderful talents of Keir Gilchrist, who was tied for my best actor that year with Ben Mendelsohn from Animal Kingdom, that I love that movie. It was my best picture of the year, and every time I see it, the end of it, I'm gone, because I relate to it. I understand that. I relate to the film as a whole. If you've never seen it, and it wasn't a really big hit, unfortunately, you should see it and understand better what I mean. These names he's mentioned are the people in the film, and it's really something special to me. Number 8, Craig's monologue at the end of It's Kind of a Funny Story.
Okay. That's an amazing choice, and I know how deeply that film touched you. It touched me, too. It was a criminally underseen film.
Yeah.
Number 8 on my list is I can't imagine anybody not crying at this scene. See, the problem with this film was that before the film, there was a little animated short. By the end of the animated short, I'm bawling my eyes out. And he was crying, but not as much. But it was just,
I had tears. I didn't cry.
So I'm going, oh crap, we're doomed. The short's making us cry. Well, guess what? The movie came in like a wrecking ball and completely destroyed me, at least in one specific scene. And I was a complete mess. Mm-hmm. My number 8 is from Inside Out. Beautiful, beautiful movie. Some places hilariously funny, and a lot of places very, very relatable. We're at a very low point in the film where the character of Joy, who is one of the emotions that is in the head of a preteen girl named Riley, Joy and an imaginary friend from Riley's childhood, a character named Bing Bong, are trapped in a memory dump, which is where memories go to be erased, forgotten, just out of your mind forever. Mm-hmm. And in order to get out of the dump and then get back to headquarters, they're using a rocket sled wagon thing that Bing Bong has.
A rocket sled wagon thing. Okay.
That I know some of my technical talk might confuse some of you, but that's the best you're gonna get. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's powered by song. And so they keep singing as loud as they can to get up enough momentum to get up over this, out of this pit and onto the lip of the ground. The thing is, they keep almost making it, and they can't make it because there's too much weight. So they try again, and as they're almost to the top, Bing Bong launches himself backwards out of the wagon, which makes it lighter, and Joy sails up over the top of the dump, and the wagon lands, and she's safe. She turns around and realizes Bing Bong isn't there, and turns immediately back to the dump and sees him at the bottom of the dump again, looking up at her, and he's fading away. And the last thing he says to her is, talking about Riley, he says, "Take her to the moon for me, okay?" And then he just fades into nothingness. And I am a freaking wreck.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, come on, it wasn't just me. It was not just me.
It was you worse than me or Stacy. We both were crying, but not like that.
No, I wouldn't even talk about you guys. I was talking about the people in front of us that were crying.
Okay, fine.
And the people behind us that were crying.
Okay, fine.
I think every adult in the place was completely hysterical, and the kids are looking at their parents like, "What the hell?" It was one of those moments that really just, it hurt. I mean, it hurt. So, my number 8, Bing Bong's Sacrifice from Inside Out.
Yeah, that's another one just always on her list. My number 7 is not so hard to explain if you've seen the movie. Again, it was a Best Picture winner for us here at Subject Cinema. And this one is emotional in a variety of ways, because as I sit there and watch it, and I have not seen a movie this many times at the theater since way back when EncinoMan was out. Mm-hmm. I saw this 5 times at the theater, and I've seen it since several times. And it's just one of my favorite all-time films. And I'm every time I get to the end, I'm anticipating it, and it's a feeling of love, of friendship, of awe, of wonder, some sadness. And you watch what's going on as the lead female character says to her friend and her brother, "I found the song. Let's go." And you hear a voiceover that sounds like this. And I'm not going to be able to do this as well as Logan does. "I don't know if I will have the time to write any more letters because I might be too busy trying to participate. So if this does end up being my last letter, I just want you to know that I was in a bad place before I started high school, and you helped me. Even if you didn't know what I was talking about or know someone who's gone through it, you made me not feel alone. Because I know there are people who say all these things don't happen, and there are people who forget what it's like to be 16 when they turn 17. I know these will all be stories someday, and our pictures will become old photographs. We'll all become somebody's mom or dad. But right now, these moments are not stories. This is happening. I am here, and I am looking at her, and she is so beautiful. I can see it. The one moment when you know you're not a sad story. You are alive, and you stand up and see the lights on the buildings and everything that makes you wonder. And you're listening to that song and that drive with the people you love most in this world. And in this moment, I swear, we are infinite. The last lines from Charlie in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Mm-hmm. This movie... I love this movie.
It's so good.
It landed on the top of my Pantheon list last time we did it, and it has some of the best stuff all the way through it. There's laughter, there's tears, there's heartbreak, there's amusement, and some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen, and some of the saddest stuff. Logan's voiceover as he looks around and looks at the life, because he's had a recent relapse of his breakdown after his friend committed suicide the year earlier. And he's in the truck with Patrick and Samantha as Charlie, looking at Samantha, who's 3 years older than him and who they are in love with each other at this point. It really is something. And it's not just tear-inducing. It's one of these, you have a smile on your face, you have some interesting stuff going through your head, and you're wishing all three characters the best in life. If you've never seen the movie, it's worth it. The book is phenomenally good too, and there's a few things they left out, but they had to get an R rating, to get a PG-13 rating. So it was definitely, but those moments in that last scene just blew me away, and still do every time I see it. Number 7, the final monologue from The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Okay, that's a great choice. That is a really beautiful movie. I think it's got so much in it that so many people can relate to.
I saw it with you twice. I saw it with Stacy and Sam once. I saw it twice by myself. So it was like, I love that.
Number 7 on my list is, it can cause tears, but they're tears of joy. And they're also just, it's weird. Sometimes you cry and you don't know why you're crying. You're just... The emotion gets squeezed out of you so hard that it comes out in tears. It's just one of these weird things that happens with the human body. My number 7 is from Casablanca, a.k.a. our movie. Our Valentine's movie. There's this one part in the film where a bunch of the Nazis are in Rick's cafe, and you can tell they've probably been there for a little while. And you can tell they're more than a little bit drunk. And they're also trying to show off their whole alpha male, ooh, I'm a big scary Nazi kind of crap, by singing very loudly a German song. It's a song called Die Wache am Rhein, which means the watch on the Rhine. And they're singing, and you know, it's got that whole kind of German feel to it, you know, and it's in German, obviously. And a lot of the people in the club are, A, not German, and B, not really happy with Nazis anyway. And they look uncomfortable. And one of the people in the club is a man named Victor Laszlo, who is a person that speaks out against the Nazis pretty much every time he draws a breath, and is a constant thorn in their side because he just won't die. And he goes to the band, who are all kind of sitting there like, well, this is uncomfortable. And he tells the band, doesn't ask the band, tells the band to play Le Marseillaise, which is the national anthem of France, in case you didn't know. And the band is all kind of like, they're all kind of looking at each other because they know, and it's not an exaggeration to say if they play this, they could all be shot. That is not an exaggeration. They look at their boss, Rick Blaine, played by Humphrey Bogart, we're not worthy, who up till this point has been all this I stick my neck out for no one and all that. He gives the minutest of nods, yep. And they start playing Le Marseillaise. And Victor starts to sing Le Marseillaise. And then everybody starts to sing Le Marseillaise. And the Germans, who are headed up by Colonel Strasser, who is an A1, I won't use the word, but he's a very bad person. He, kind of, makes it very obvious that the Germans are supposed to sing louder to drown out the people singing La Marseillaise. So they keep singing the German song louder, and that doesn't do any good, because the people singing La Marseillaise get louder and more fervent.
And they have a band behind them, which the Germans don't have.
Yeah. And you can see people in the audience, the other people in the club, I should say, they're singing with tears in their eyes. They're singing a song they felt like they would never be able to sing again, and it's so beautiful. We've seen the Casablanca a couple of times at the Brattle, and we've been very lucky to do that. And every time,
you saw it over at Showcase most recently when they had it on the AMC thing.
Yeah.
The TCM movie.
Wonderful
classics.
movie, not the best movie to see when your hormones are playing crazy with you.
No, because that's the last time we saw it. It was fun. And they screwed up the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
It's not really a good movie to see when you're a hormonal woman.
Especially the ending.
Little kids outside, Mommy, why is that lady crying? But it's so beautiful. And there were people singing along in the Brattle, and I'm like, how did they know the lyrics to La Marseillaise? Whatever. It was just so amazing. And when it's done, you really want to just, pump your fists, and it's so awesome. It really hits you hard. It's an emotional, beautiful scene. So my number 7 from Casablanca, La Marseillaise.
Well, okay. Your timing sucks. Because I gotta go completely silly on this now.
That's all right.
My number 6 is one of those moments that I had by myself. Kim was not home when I watched this, and I sat there and bawled. And then you listen to the song that's from the soundtrack for this, and you sit there and bawl and bawl. And I'm sorry, I can't help it. Blame her. It's her fault.
Okay. Yay! It's my fault.
From Pokemon, the first movie.
Oh, that.
The villain in this film is an artificially created Pokemon named Mewtwo, and he captures a bunch of people that are regulars on the show and everything. At one point, Ash Ketchum, the hero of the show, stands up to him, and Mew uses his immense power to turn Ash into stone. Pikachu, Ash's loyal companion and usual fighting Pokemon, doesn't sit well with this. He's over there, and he runs over to Ash, and I can't do this. I'm not going to do my Pikachu imitation, because Kim says it's perfectly pathetic. He's upset, and he's thunder-shocking, and he's getting more and more upset, trying to get Ash back to normal. And he's crying. Pikachu crying. This is going to be like, what? And then they play the song, If Only Tears Could Bring You Back to Me. This is a song that was written for the movie, and I was a pile of blubber. I'm sitting there bawling. Her fault. She's the one that made me start watching this show and got me sucked into it. Her fault entirely.
I infected somebody else. Yay! If you were waiting for me to feel bad about that,
I know.
You have a long way to head,
it.
buddy.
You've never seen it. You saw 2 and 3. You didn't see the first movie.
No.
Oh my God. I was just, here I am, a something-year-old man, sitting there, just blubbering like an idiot. It's a great movie. I haven't watched it since because of that scene. I actually like Pokemon 2000, which nobody else likes, and I think that was the best of the 3 movies I saw. But it's like, that one has a couple of places that gets me too. Mm-hmm. But that, just the pain and the heartbreak and the desperation of watching that little cute electric mouse lose his absolute crap trying to bring his master back to life. It just breaks my heart. Okay, Anthony, you can go ahead and start laughing at me now. Number 6, Pokemon, the first movie.
Okay. Number 6 on my list is the first time I can ever remember this happening to me. Now, I am a very emotional person. I tried to shield my emotions when I was younger because of home situations, wound up with ulcers, finally decided, screw that, I need to actually take care of me, and expressed how I felt about things. I had never had an emotional reaction so deeply to a book until I read the book that's coming in on number 6 on my list. The book is called Dragons of Winter Night. It is the second book in the first Dragonlance trilogy. It came out in 1985, and it told the story of a group of adventurers on this planet that's, obviously very different from Earth because they've got dragons and elves and all that stuff like that. Now, I was heavy into fantasy back then, as I am now. And there's all kinds of different characters that through these books as you've gotten to know them and stuff like that. One of the characters was a character named Sturm Brightblade. And
of course he was.
He was a knight of Solamnia. Solamnia, that's right. He was basically a paladin. He was this world's version of a paladin. Now, a paladin is a very handy character to have around because they're supposed to be, the champion of good and justice and protector of the weak and, defender of the innocent and blah, 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 blah. The problem with that is that a lot of paladins also come off as insufferable pains in the neck.
Trust me, I know. I've played one. I didn't want to.
They can come off as sanctimonious. They can come off as preachy. They can come off as pains in the neck. And in that respect, Sturm was no different. Sturm was no different. He was a very good man, and he wanted to be the best he could be at being a knight and being, helping others and stuff like that. But he could be preachy about it and tell people what they were doing was incorrect and da-da-da-da-da, and drive the people around him nuts. Until Dragons of Winter Night, when he winds up getting killed. And I remember reading that part and sitting there going, no, wait, he's not really dead. No, they're going to fix this in a couple of... The next chapter, he's really dead. And I was like, I want to put this book down and go cry now. And I remember thinking what? I've never had that happen before with a book. I got so emotionally invested in all these characters. They felt so real that his death hurt a lot.
Yep.
So, my number 6 from Dragons of Winter Night, The Sacrifice of Sturm Brightblade.
Just because you brought it up, I didn't put any books on my list deliberately because I'm just more comfortable. But there are 3 books that have made me cry. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which is just gut-wrenching if you've never seen it in places. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, which there's some stuff that didn't happen in the movie that just... Because
you saw the movie and then read the book.
Yeah, rips me apart. And a book that I don't remember the author. It came out in the early 70s called Run Softly, Go Fast. It's about 2 best friends in high school in the Vietnam era and the trouble that the narrator is having with his father, who's an old school guy. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring those up because those are 3 books that made me cry. Number 5 on my list goes entirely the opposite way that I've gone the last 2 or 3 things on my list.
Okay.
It is something unique. Once in a great while, there will be something that will, as I said earlier, push my button and turn on the giggle meter. And sometimes that will pinball off and hit another internal meter and send me into what I call hysterics. Kim has decided to name them episodes. You've heard a few of them on this show.
Usually caused by me.
Yes.
Yay.
This is where I start laughing so hysterically I can't stop. Number 5 did that to me, and it lasted from the very first minute of the film until the very end of the film. I have never laughed at a movie unintentional. I mean, this was a movie I wasn't sure about when we went to see it. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. It's amusing. The thing that made it work is the fact that it's so damn meta all the way through the film that you can't help but laugh. And those people who didn't see it don't know what they're missing, despite the fact that it's supposedly a kid's film. My number 5 is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. The entire damn film. Yep. From the second it started until the second it ended, I don't think I went maybe 15 seconds at a time without laughing for 3 minutes. This movie is so well written, so well done with the voiceovers from Kevin Hart and Thomas Middleditch in particular. Really, really funny stuff. I wasn't that familiar with the books. Kim was always enthused about the movie, and once again, she was right about it. Mm-hmm. That's usually the case. If you've not seen it, please rent it, because if on your worst day, if you're having a hell of a day at work and everything, your dog's run away, your kid's got in trouble in school, your husband's late for work because he screwed up at whatever he did, and you had a car accident, and your kitchen's exploding because you're whatever. Sit down in the living room, put a DVD of this movie in, and I guarantee you everything will go away really quick. Number 5, Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, the entire damn film.
Okay. As I just mentioned, having a book make me cry was a unique experience. And I wasn't sure if it would ever happen again. It did. And it's number 5. I don't own this book. I would like to bring that up. I read it, and I didn't want to own it because I'm like, I can't read this book again because I'll just cry all over it and ruin the pages. The book in my number 5 is a book called Remembering Farley.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
She
had that episode right in the middle of Barnes & Noble.
I did. Whoa, hold up. Time out. Pump the hate brakes there, buddy. It wasn't...
What hate brakes?
It wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't a complete chest-heaving, sobbing meltdown.
No, again, see March of the Penguins. Anyway. And no, you're never going to live that down.
I know I'm not. Remembering Farley is a book that was put together about the life of Farley, the sheepdog who belonged to the Patterson family in the comic For Better or For Worse, written by Lynn Johnson. And Farley was their sheepdog growing up, when the kids were growing up in the comics, and he was, a very typical dog, got into stuff and made messes and was kind of, but he was a dog.
He was a dog.
And, yeah.
Not Snoopy.
Nope.
Or Marmaduke.
Nope.
He was a dog.
And everyone adored him. Farley gave his life to save the youngest daughter, April, when she fell into a creek and was carried away by the water. Farley jumped in, pulled her out. At the time, the dog was 14 years old. And the cold water, the exertion, everything like that, he had a heart attack and died. So, Remembering Farley is all of the comics that she had put that are dealing, they were all about, Farley. When he was little, when he was older, all the way up to his passing. And I was sitting there in Barnes & Noble, and I just picked it up and found a comfy chair and started to read it. And I'm reading it, and we get to this part of it, and I'm sitting there, I'm sitting there, and my eyes start stinging and swimming with tears, and I'm just sitting there reading about this dog doing what a dog does. I mean, dogs have that, innate power to save people, whether it's by saving them just by being a warm companion or by saving them by literally saving somebody's life. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I know some people would be like, you're crying over a pen and ink creation. Yes, I am.
So what?
If you have a problem with that, I don't want to be around you. Mm-hmm. It was so moving and so tragic, and at the same time, it was just beautiful. The idea that this animal probably knew it was going to die doing this. And
I don't know about that.
Well, he knew he was old.
I don't know about that. Anyway,
maybe it'd be better to say he didn't think about what would happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
All he was concerned with was saving her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad. And yeah, I cried in public. I don't care. I have feelings. If you can't acknowledge your feelings, that's your hang-up, not mine. My number 5, Remembering Farley.
My number 4 is something I have mentioned a number of times on Subject Cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps getting funnier and funnier every time you see the movie. Has to do with a simple little accessory, shall we say. And just in particular, who is carrying said accessory. Number 4 is a moment near the end of the delightful and hilariously funny Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. The story of this, of course, is Wallace and Gromit are now into pest control. They're getting rid of all the rabbits and stuff that are popping up in gardens because the big vegetable competition is coming up. And, well, things go kind of awry, and in an insane mix-up, Wallace ends up ingesting something that turns him into a were-rabbit. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, by this point, there's no hope for you. Anyway, at the end of the film, they're all running through Lady Tottenton's estate, you've got Victor, the would-be boyfriend, trying to take down the were-rabbit to save, our community with his little gun. And you have Victor's dog, Philip. Wallace and Gromit and Philip get into a chase where they're on these kiddie rides, basically. And all of a sudden, they stop. Gromit and him just kind of look at each other and wonder, well, what are we supposed to do now? Philip scrounges around in his dog suit, I guess, and magically pulls out a coin purse. Now, Philip is a bulldog, right? Or is he a Rottweiler? No, he's a bulldog. I think he's supposed
to be a bulldog.
And here he is with this dainty little coin purse. Was it flowered? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. It had
and pulls out a quarter,
flowers on it,
and puts it into the machine, and it starts going again. I laughed so hard I almost wet myself. The lady in the theater with us. We saw this at AMC Boston Common in downtown Boston, opening night. There was a lady whose laughter was so loud, I swear they could have heard her outside on Tremont Street. She was laughing that loudly at this movie. And it was such a juxtaposition. This big, tough, growly dog, I'm going to beat Gromit up. The ride stops, and he pulls out this flowery little coin purse and puts the... I'm sorry. It's just drop dead funny. Number 4, Philip's Purse from Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Okay. Number 4 on my list is from one of my favorite series of films, and it's a moment that if you had told me at the beginning of if you had told me after the first film, and especially after the second film, that this was going to happen in the third film, I would have told you were crazy. From Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. At the end of the film, where Darth Vader has turned on the Emperor to save the life of his son, Luke Skywalker, he's fatally wounded. The new Death Star is on the verge of being destroyed, and Luke is trying to get his father into a ship to get to safety. And his father tells him, leave him. He has to save himself. He also tells him to help him take off the mask that he wears that he needs in order to live. Mm-hmm. And he tells his son that he wants to see him with his own eyes. That's the point where my throat starts closing up. And it's a really beautiful, moving scene. The point where I absolutely am like, okay, I'm totally crying now and not stopping anytime in the immediate future, is when Luke says to his father, I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you. And Darth Vader, at this point, is really not Darth Vader anymore. He's Anakin Skywalker again. He looks up at his son and he says, you already have, Luke. You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right. And then he dies in his son's arms. And I am a mess. I can't help it. It's so beautiful and moving and touching and sad. And somebody with daddy issues the size of mine can be surprised that this makes me cry.
I know. Yeah.
So my number 4, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Vader's Redemption.
Okay. I'm not even going to describe number 3 because anybody who hasn't seen this movie, again, there's no hope for you. And anyone who has seen the movie is going to know exactly what I am talking about. All I have to do is tell you what scene it is. You do not have to know all the backstory. You do not have to know everything else going around it. You do not have to know that it's all turns out to be a story wrapped within a story wrapped within a story. All you need to know is the actual event. Number 3, Artax perishes in the swamps of sadness in 1984's The Never-Ending Story. You don't have to say anything else.
No.
Everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows what Atreyu is going through, and Bastian, both of whom are crying as they're reading this. Noah Hathaway, Barrett Oliver give 2 of the best performances any teen or preteen actors ever gave in any film. And it's a classic. Mm-hmm. I don't need to go any further.
No, you don't.
Number
really.
3, Artax perishes in the swamps of sadness in The Never-Ending Story from 1984.
Okay. My number 3 part that hits me right in the feels, I think pretty much hit everybody. You would have to be a Vulcan to not have this, like, not completely destroy your feelings, at least at the beginning of the film. Mm-hmm. From the beautiful and in some places very hilarious Pixar film Up. At the beginning of the film, we meet a young boy named Carl who falls in love with his neighbor named Ellie. Ellie is very adventurous and exuberant, and Carl's a little more retiring.
He's a bookworm.
He's a bookworm. He's an introvert. Ellie's very much an extrovert. But you can tell from the moment they meet up with each other, they're going to be together forever. And as it turns out, they are together for a very long time.
Not forever yet.
But not forever yet.
Mm-hmm.
We have a whole section that's done completely in silence where we see them...
No, it's not done in silence. There's music in the background.
There's music in the background.
It's a musical interlude with no dialogue.
There's no dialogue.
Right.
We see them get married. We see them, set up house together and all these beautiful domestic moments that you never really look back on. And you look back on them fondly, but you don't look at them at the moment they're happening and think, wow, this is so amazing. It's only later on that you see how amazing and beautiful they are. He sells toy balloons at the zoo, and she works at the zoo, and it's all really, beautiful. And then they find out that she cannot have children. And you can tell that it really affects both of them very badly, but they still are together and they just build a life together. And we see them getting older and older and more frail and stuff like that. And finally we see Ellie is very ill. And we see her in the hospital, and then we see the funeral afterwards. We see the after effect of it, which is Carl looks like his soul has been scraped out, and pretty much everybody is crying their eyes out because it's so unbearably sad. My number 3, the opening montage, because good grief, you have if that doesn't make you cry, there is something wrong with you.
I think the sequence is technically called Carl and Ellie's photo album.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
You need somebody to pray for you if that doesn't make you cry. Seriously.
Oh, I didn't cry. I got teared up. I didn't cry.
Yeah, but at least you got... if that doesn't make you
All right,
emotional,
fine,
there's something wrong with you.
Fascinating. My number 2 runner-up, Kim is going to sneer at this, but I'm sorry. You know, yes, you will. You hate this show.
Oh.
It's one of those things that, again, I love a good pun. Kim can tell you that she has spent hours making me have episodes with her ridiculous pun. Once she starts, she can't stop.
I can't.
This is what happened with this one. And I was so happy to see them bringing this up recently on MeTV. The show was Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. Kim hates this show.
Yeah, he's actually not wrong about this.
I never saw it. I heard about it, but I'd never seen them until they ran on, I think it was Nick at Night, but it may have been MTV, in the late 80s on Sunday nights at 11 o'clock. They were, it was basically a James Bond, Man from U.N.C.L.E. spoof with apes in all the roles. Orangutans and a number of different acts, all corralled and trained by Frank Inn, who was known to be kind with his animals, so I don't think there was any problems there. Frank was also Benji's trainer. And the whole point is they have a regular, Lancelot Link, his partner Mata Hari, their boss, and then they have the bad guys, the Baron, Duchess, Wicked Wang Fu, Ali Assassin, Greedo was the henchman of the Baron. The show is funny as hell. I'm sorry. If you like parodies and you like really stupid humor, there was one episode that never fails even now to send me into total hysterics. It's called The Dreaded Hong Kong Sneeze. The whole thing is Ape, that's the bad guy, that's the good guy organization, is trying to defeat Chump, that's the bad guys, from releasing this terrible disease on the world. It's been developed and the Duchess has the vial and, they try to do everything they can. And of course, it's a parody. It's a Get Smart parody. So Lancelot is not exactly the smartest knife in the drawer. It's the sharpest knife in the drawer. Yeah. And so it's kind of like Mata is his Agent 99. And they get through all this, and Darwin, their boss, and Lancelot have both contracted a cold at the end of this thing, and they've put this away. And they're talking about the case at the end of the thing, and Lance is bemoaning the fact that he got sick, and Mata Hari looks at him and says in an imitable voice, "Well, we've learned one lesson." Oh yeah? What's that? "Crime is nothing to be sneezed at." QTC on the floor in total hysterics for about 5 minutes. It still happens to me when I see it. Yes, it's stupid. I know that. But, like I said, I have buttons. They cause episodes. She knows how to work them, and certain TV shows do too. Number 2, Lancelot Link, the Secret Chimp, the Dreaded Hong Kong Sneeze.
Okay. My choices that come in at number 2 and number 1 are both prime examples of the fact that you would think after you see something more than once, it would lessen the impact. I am here to tell you that is crap.
Oh boy.
My number 2 moment that hits you right in the feels is from the incredible wuxia film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Ah, okay. So I know what your number 1 is then.
You can't be surprised. The end of the film sees the hero, Li Mubai, being poisoned by the villain of the piece, a woman named Jade Fox. And as he's lying there dying, the woman that he's been in love with in all of his adult life, Shu Yu Lien, is pleading with him to pray so that he will be able to ascend to paradise. And I will not do this in Chinese because I will not insult the Chinese people. Li Mubai's response to what she asks of him is when he says, "I've already wasted my whole life. I want to tell you with my last breath that I have always loved you. I would rather be a ghost, drifting by your side as a condemned soul, than enter heaven without you. Because of your love, I will never be a lonely spirit. Seriously? You show me a woman...
The second time, it was really bad.
You show me a woman that doesn't sit there and just completely cry her eyes out at that scene. It is so beautiful. The lines read by Chow Yun-fat are so tragic. It's just... The first time we saw it, I cried. The second time we saw it, I cried so hard I gave myself a headache.
And then had to go to church to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so moving. Just the idea that I would forsake paradise just so that I could be with you. I mean, beep, that's amazing. It's just really, that is just nuts. My number 2 moment that hits me right in the feels, Li Mubai's death from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Oh my gosh. Bring tissues.
Yeah. Well, it's a great movie.
It is.
It's also one of the greatest martial arts films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
My number 1, just because I think I wanted to do something positive, is one of those things that I see when I watch it. I watch the video online, or I watch it part of the movie on TV, or watch the whole movie. And it's just delightful and never fails to start my foot tapping and my smile to start, because I love the song and I love the performance and I love the performance within the performance. And so it makes it something that makes that you will, it's hard because the very beginning and the very ending are kind of melancholy because it's not working the way the character wants it to work. But when they go into the imaginary part of it, everything's working perfectly. And if you've never seen it, you're missing out on something special. From the movie Sing Street, Drive It Like You Stole It. Love this scene where Connor, a.k.a. Cosmo, has written that the Hall & Oates sound alike, and he's trying to put together this music video. They're filming it at the school, and he starts to imagine what it would really look like, and it turns into the Back to the Future thing, like that right out of Back in Time, or one of those things from Back to the Future. And then at the end, it comes crashing down to reality, and it's kind of disappointing. But the song itself is so bubbly. We used it for a theme song until I kept getting hit on YouTube by it every week. Because it's just a great song and a great performance from Ferdia Walsh-Pilo, who is just one of the most underrated vocalists of all time at this point. Now he's doing more acting. I can't believe have you seen him? Butch haircut, beard and mustache, and he looks... It's very different from what you see in the movie, and it was just... He's only 18. He's got a long career ahead of him, and this song never fails to put a smile on my face, whether I'm listening to it on my Spotify, or whether I'm watching the video online or watching the movie. Sing Street was just one of the most delightful surprises of all time, and if you haven't seen it, please see it, and that I guarantee you that bit will put a smile on your face. Number 1 from Sing Street, Drive It Like You Stole It.
Okay. The number 1 scene on my list, number 1 scene that hits me in the feels the hardest, should really come as no surprise to anybody who's listened to more than one show that we've done.
Like I said, I think I figured out what it is.
Yeah. My number 1 scene, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the death of Boromir.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I have seen a movie more than 5 times since Encino Man. We saw that 6 times.
Yes, we did. And it got worse every time.
It did. By the time we saw it for the 6th time, it was almost like having to hold her up, resuscitate her, give her oxygen, everything. She was just out of it.
It was... And the worst...
And boy, she wanted to hate Lawrence McCory when we met him.
I did. I did. I wanted to tell him, you mother forking...
You actually did tell him that, but you had a big smile on your face and he laughed.
I was like...
It was wicked funny.
Son of a biscuit. And that's not the word I wanted to use. by this point in the film, things have gone horribly sideways. The Fellowship has completely split up in all different directions, and Boromir, in a moment of weakness, tried to take the ring from Frodo. Frodo's gone by, run away and all this stuff like that, and there's an attack by a bunch of these Uruk-hai, which are these evil creatures that have been made by the wizard Saruman, and Boromir, in trying to defend Merry and Pippin, who wind up being captured by the Uruk-hai, is shot with arrows. About 4 of them.
3 times.
Three times, yeah. And will not fall because he's trying to save them. When Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli show up and rout everybody, and finally the orc that's been shooting at Boromir gets his head lopped off, the first thing that Boromir says to Aragorn, who's trying to save his life, he doesn't say, "I'm hurt, help me," anything like that. He says, "They took the little ones." He's more concerned about Merry and Pippin than his own life. And he's saying, he's failed and all this stuff like that. And Aragorn's just, not hearing any of it. And when he tells Boromir that he won't let their people fall, because, all this time he hasn't accepted his role as the king of all free men, Boromir, who's using his last amounts of strength, looks at Aragorn and says, our people, I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king." And then he closes his eyes and dies. And I completely fall apart like a house of cards in a hurricane.
I don't think he closes his eyes.
He dies. You might be wrong about it. I might be wrong about that. Yeah. And it's so unbelievably moving and heartbreaking and soul-smashing.
And each time she sees it, it starts earlier and earlier, too.
The crying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because I know it's coming. And I'm sorry, but seeing sweet pieces of ass get pierced by arrows really bothers me.
Well, it's Sean Bean's thing to die. He dies in everything he does. Pretty much.
Rude.
Well, he died in GoldenEye. He died in Game of Thrones. He died in practically everything he's done.
Shut up.
He's made an art out of dying on screen.
Shut up. So, thank you for peeing all over my really deep emotional moment. Thanks a bunch.
You're welcome.
My number one moment that gets me right in the feels: The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Death of Boromir.
All right, recapping. My number 10 is Danger Mouse, Play It Again, Wolfgang, and Once Upon a Time Slip. Number 9, the end of Risk Cutters, A Love Story. Number 8, the end of It's Kind of a Funny Story. Number 7, the end of Perks of Being a Wallflower. Number 6, Pokemon, the first movie. Number 5, Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, the entire film. Number 4, Wallace and Gromit, Philip's Purse. Number 3, Artax Dies in the Swamps of Sadness, Never Ending Story. Number 2, Crime is Nothing to Be Sneezed At, from Lancelot Link's Secret Chimp. And number 1, Drive It Like You Stole It, from Sing Street.
Okay. And my list from 10 to 1, The Wizard of Oz, The Tin Man's Goodbye. Number 9, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the homage paid to the Hobbits. Number 8, Inside Out, Bing Bong's Sacrifice. Number 7, Casablanca, Le Marseillais. Number 6, Dragons of Winter Night, the Sacrifice of Strum Brightblade. Number 5, Remembering Farley. Number 4, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Vader's Redemption. Number 3, Up, Carl and Ellie's Montage. Number 2, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Death of Li Mubai. And number 1, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Death of Boromir.
Yay!
So that was quite a list. I like yours. It came.
Yeah,
you had some
I had
choices,
some that I crossed off. I actually had something else at number 1, and I crossed it off when I thought of that. Oh, and that's okay. I'm not going to bring it up.
Okay.
Okay. Next week on Front Row 5 and 10.
Yes, it is your turn.
It's my turn, and I'm going to do something we haven't done for a while because I just think it would be fun. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've done this one. I'm going to check and make a list of all the stuff we've done here and on Subject Cinema, just so we don't repeat ourselves.
Right.
My choice for next week are top 10 stand-up comedians of all time. And there is a caveat. They have to be primarily stand-up comics, not comics who do stand-up while they're singing. Terry Fader does not count, and people that use singing as part of their routine to be funny, that doesn't work. I want straight stand-up comedy.
Okay.
You can throw ventriloquism in there. You can throw props in there. Whatever it is, whatever makes you laugh without singing, then, like, no funny songs, no impressionists, actual comedy.
Okay. All right.
Because it's going to be a tough list because there are a lot of good comics out there. Don't forget to check out all of our shows on the PNR Networks web family. In addition to Front Row 5 and 10, of course, there's Subject Cinema on Sundays. We're going to stay on Sundays for the summer because Kim's show's off. And it'll be fine, and we'll have that back up coming this Sunday. Plus the 2 shows that are spin-offs of that show, our mini shows, my mini shows. That's all, folks. The Tuesday Digidex with the home video report on Tuesdays, and 3-Minute Weekend with the current releases on Friday, both for the U.S. Kim's show, Platinum Rose's Garden, is off for the summer.
Yes,
and
it is.
she has covered season 13 of Supernatural. She's had a whole season of stuff, plus her recaps and all her naughty bits. I'm sure you can listen. And her wrestling show, Wednesdays, Ring Around the Rosie, which covers 35 plus years of fandom with wrestling and all the current results. Both of those shows from Kim are not safe for work.
Nope.
We have Anthony Lamberti and his new video show, the Aunt Bee's Nerd Grotto on YouTube, and his other show, Comic Grotto, is on hiatus. We'll be back later this summer, and they'll be doing some more stuff over there. That's at comicgrotto.com. For Aunt Bee's Nerd Grotto, just put that in and search in YouTube and pull him up and subscribe. He wants more subscribers, and they're pretty fun shows. My show, Catastrophe Vortex, will be back in July. I'm reformatting it, and I haven't done a show since like March. I apologize. Everything's been kind of thrown in, but I want time to really figure out what I'm going to do. We will premiere the new version of Catastrophe Vortex in July. Gives me a month to work on it. We also have, what else is there? Kirkham Report on Saturdays, probably starting in the next week or so. I started one. I did one, as I told you before, with Eurovision stuff that isn't up yet because it's still being held up. Orchard has never gotten back to us. On June 5th, its final day. It will have to do something, and if it doesn't get bumped, it will be up finally for people to see. And I will continue to be doing those reports with top 10s and charts and all that stuff in the weeks ahead. That's exclusively on our YouTube channel. Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, currently on hiatus, will be back later this summer, and they are reevaluating what they're doing too. We hope they'll be back shortly. They do great stuff and have a lot of fun, and they are at cavebabble.com. And I think is that all the shows?
And there's Manhattan Hammerdown.
Manhattan Hammerdown, As It Happened, our one-shot production, 10th anniversary Cloverfield tribute, is available at manhattanhammerdown.com. And we will be doing another one of these for later this year. So please, not for Cloverfield, for something else. And we hope that you will be there for it.
Yeah.
And again, it will hopefully involve the entire PNR Networks family. So that'll be something.
I think that's it.
I think that's it too. We hope you've had a great week. We hope you join us for Subject Cinema and all of our other shows. Please don't forget to write to us. We'd love to hear from you. It's at Front Row at PNRNetworks.com or Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com. You can follow Kim and I on Twitter. Kim is at Platinum Rose L. I am at eCinemaBoston TC or eCinemaOne. I'm usually on the Boston ID because it's easier. And you can also follow us both on Facebook. I have a personal site plus the PNR Networks, and Kim is Platinum Rose Lady over there too. And you can also help us spread the word. Like, subscribe, and share, and get your friends to do the same. And be sure to retweet all of our tweets and repost all of our Facebooks. Help us get the word out there. And above all, we could really use your help for all the work we put into this show. We put hours and hours and hours of work into our sites and shows every week, and we would really appreciate it if you could become a Patreon sponsor. Our Patreon perks will be changing next week. I'm still finalizing what we're going to do, but it's going to be a little bit simpler. It starts at $2 a month all the way up, up and up as we go on. There'll be better and better perks. But we can take whatever you get, and we split it between all of us here at PNR Networks, all the shows, all the sites, and we hope that you will take the time to join us and say, hey, I'm a Subject Cinema fan, or hey, I'm an eCinemaOne fan, or hey, I'm a Comic Grotto fan, or Cavebabble, or Platinum Rose's Garden, by pledging a few bucks our way to help us out with expenses. And you can do that at patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
I think that's it. So this is Kim Brown.
And I'm T.C. Kirkham.
And we hope we can count on you to come back next week and help us count up another list here on Front Row 5 and 10.
Count on it.
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.